Watched Explorers A, and now I'm going to do another video, Explorers B, and I'm just going to label them that way so you can kind of keep track of them. But I wanted to backtrack and recap a little bit about our grass, because we talked about it in other videos, you know, and in class and such, but we haven't really make sure that everybody's on the right page with this when we pick up our Explorer. So we're going to pick up our instrument. And again, depending on the length of your fingers and the size of your hands, our modified pen grasp is thumb and index at or near the junction of the handle and the functional shank. My fingers are long, so they come up a little bit like this. My handle is going to be right here between this knuckle and this last knuckle of my hand. You don't want your handle to go down like this. When you're working, you lose control of the instrument. There's going to be cases where our instrument handle is going to be needing to be here in the V of this, between our thumb and our index down here, so that we can gain access when we're doing certain kind of certain teeth in the posteriors, but we don't going to worry about that till a little bit later. Our middle finger, we said, is the side of the shank, the side of our middle finger, pardon me, that is going to be on this functional shank. You don't want it to be all the way down there on the terminal shank, because you're going to be so crowded and crunched up that you won't be, your working in will not be able to do what it needs to be doing. So that middle finger needs to come up and rest almost, you know, at the top of the functional shank there. All right, fingers always together. And so we're going to continue to work on that. I wish I could have eyes on everybody as you're practicing with this, but we're going to do the best we can and get there the best that we can. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. Okay, so we decided that looking at the terminal shank and this first bend, that this instrument was going to be appropriately used for this lower right buccal, and there's my bend that's going distal, and also with my bend that's going distal here for the lower left lingual. If I'm going to do the lower right lingual, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to find that bend, and I'm going to have to flip my instrument so that my bend now is going distal. So you can see the bend right here. This bend right here is now pointing distal. So that when I go around here and start on my distal buccal, distal lingual line angle, excuse me, I've got the right end, and I'm pretty much staying super gingival when I'm showing you this so that you can see the direction that it's going. But typically, if I were to be working on a real mouth, we're going to stay, you know, our instrument tip goes into the sulcus and it stays and it walks underneath the gum lining. We don't really see that happening. So you don't want to be coming up and going down and up and going down, because you could continue to manipulate that tissue as you're doing that. So once you're inside a sulcus, you stay in the sulcus and you work it through all the way around, making sure to get around that line angle, okay? So this is my correct end for my lower right lingual. It's also going to be my correct end for my lower left buccal. Again, you see that first bend pointing to the distal, okay? And I'm going to use the side, not the point, the side of the tip, okay? And I'm going to go in subgingivally this time so you can see how that works. And it's up strokes, little bitty overlapping strokes that take us all the way around, okay? You don't want to use your fingers when you do this, okay? So I've done all as far as I can go on the distal. I'm going to pull out back to that distal buccal line angle. Okay, again, no fingers. We don't want to see this kind of activation. You're going to be moving this working in only through your wrist, okay? Your wrist is what's going around, and we're going to be doing overlapping, and we're going to be doing some adaptation things like pivoting and rolling, because as you're going around with this instrument, You've got to roll it. You've got to roll it to get to where you want to be. So it's an activation of rolling. And you can see very minutely that as I'm using this, I'm rolling it very ever so slightly. But also it's my my wrist movement that's making this thing go around, okay? So what I want you to do now for the next few minutes is I want you to practice with your end, and I want you to make sure that you can understand that this first tip is going to be distal right here. So if some of you were trying to learn it from the numbers, right here I see my 11 is down here on the lower left lingual, and my 11 is the same thing for my lower right buccal, okay? And now, I didn't want y'all to really learn it this way, but considering the circumstances, I'm going to say let's go ahead and see if we can make a little bit more sense of it this way. So number 12, as you can see, my number 12 right here on the handle, it's the one that's closest to where I'm at. So that's number 12, and that's the correct end. And then it's going to be number 12 on the lower right lingual. Okay, if I go up here to the upper right buccal, it's number 11. As you can see, 11 is closest to the section I'm at. No, sorry, wrong. There's my distal bend. So it's number 12 on the upper right buccal. Okay, and that's going to work for the upper left lingual. Number 12. Okay, and then on the upper right buccal, it's going to be number 11. And then in the upper right lingual, it's going to be number 11 as well.